Hey guys, this is God of Politics and welcome back to a brand new video. But before we get started with this video, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also follow me on Twitter, that is linked down in the description, and on my channel page right here. You can click on it here and join the Discord, that is also linked down in the description here. And today's video is going to be the 2020 Battleground map for the month of May. So I did my prediction video on May 1st, the date is now May 4th, and I'm going to be doing my updated Battleground map. The difference between the Battleground map and the prediction is what I'm predicting these states are going to go and how these states are going to go come November. Will it be in favor of Joe Biden? Will it be in favor of Donald Trump? This video is if the election were held today, who would win these states and who is in favor at this point. I'm just going to be going through those states with this video. Tomorrow's video will be about the Senate. The next video will be about the House, just saying the state of the race at this moment. So I'll be doing the safe states at this point, just going through them as of now. So the safe states for Donald Trump would be Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Utah, North Dakota, South Dakota, all of Nebraska except for the 2nd District, Kansas, Oklahoma, Alaska, Arkansas, Louisiana, Missouri, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, West Virginia, Indiana, South Carolina. So that puts Donald Trump at 125 safe electoral votes, and then for Joe Biden, he would get California, Oregon, Washington, as well as Hawaii, New Mexico, actually. Hillary Clinton won it by 8 percentage points, with Gary Johnson getting 9% of the vote. I think that Joe Biden would be able to win it by a safe margin. If he can secure some of the Latino support, as well as Illinois, New York, Vermont, Maine's 1st District, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, D.C. So Joe Biden is at 188 safe electoral votes. Donald Trump is at 125 safe electoral votes. For the likely states, I believe that the likely states for Donald Trump will be Maine's 2nd District. Maine's 2nd District will be by a likely margin. Donald Trump won it by barely a safe margin last time, which is above 10 points. I think he'd win it by a likely margin this time, and that's actually all the likely states I'm predicting at this point for Donald Trump. And then for Joe Biden, I think he'd win Nevada by a likely margin, just over 5 points. Colorado, as well as the state of Minnesota. We haven't had much information from this state, but I do think that Joe Biden doing well here in the primary. He is quite popular here, especially with Amy Klobuchar. Maybe she's on the ticket. And I do think that he would, at this point, win it by a likely margin. The next state is going to be the state of Virginia. I think Virginia would be a likely margin as well for Joe Biden, and that is going to be all of the likely margin states. So after the likely margins, we have Joe Biden at 226 electoral votes, Donald Trump only at 126. That's not very good news for him. So now we'll be doing the lean states here. The first lean state, a big price for Donald Trump, Texas. Now, before I get a lot of hate here for putting Texas in the lean column, I just would like to say there's been a lot of info coming out, a lot of polls coming out, some polls that even got the 2018 Senate race right. A lot of polls showing that this state is in play more than some people might think. And while I don't think that Joe Biden is going to win the state, I think that at this point, if the election were held today, Donald Trump would probably win by 4 to 5 points. And I do think that that does push it into the lean column as opposed to the likely column, which is where most people are putting it. But now, I'd put it in the lean column. Georgia, I'd also put in the lean column. Georgia is a state, along with Texas, that's been trending to the blue column. The Atlanta suburb trends have been real. You see congressional districts that Romney and McCain won by 20, Bush won by 40, are now barely even going to Donald Trump, some even going to Hillary Clinton. And so I do think that this district is going to stay this state is going to stay with Donald Trump by a lean margin. The next state that will go by lean margin, the next 2 states, will be Iowa and Ohio. There have been some polls coming out here that has shown have been very close. A new poll came out today from Iowa showing Biden only down by 2 points. And while it was a PPP poll, if you add 3 points to Donald Trump's column, it's still a lean margin. Same thing with Ohio. There were polls coming out, not even a PPP, which is a Democratic internal poll, showing Joe Biden up by 1, and so you have to say that these states, at least for now, are in play, and it shows that the Republicans are going to have to spend at least some money in this state. And while the polls may not be weighted in the proper way, and they might add a couple points to Donald Trump, I still do think that if the election were held today, Donald Trump would win both of these states by a lean margin, which is a lot less than what he won them by in 2016. The next state I actually believe that Joe Biden would win by a lean margin. First, we'll go to Maine's at large. I think Maine's first district would just go by such a safe margin. That means second district being a likely margin, Donald Trump would kind of not matter too much, which is why Maine at large would be a lean margin, probably by a similar margin, maybe a bit larger of a margin compared to 2016. New Hampshire, I believe, would be a lean margin as well. New Hampshire is a state that barely went to Hillary Clinton. She only won it by 3,000 votes. But I do believe that Joe Biden, even though he didn't do well here in the primary, he might get some more of the Bernie Sanders vote, some of the Pete Buttigieg vote that was in the primary, and he would win the state by a lean margin. The next state is also going to be the state of Michigan. I believe that Joe Biden would win the state of Michigan by a lean margin. There's been a lot of good news here for Joe Biden that's puts him in a very good position to be able to win this state at this point. And while the polls don't mean everything, I do believe that the undecided voters, which is the reason why the polls were wrong, would not break either way. And if they're going to break either way, they're probably going to break to Joe Biden at least at this point. And I believe that that would make it a lean margin to Joe Biden. Same thing with the state of Pennsylvania. Joe Biden was actually nicknamed the third senator of Pennsylvania for a while. He was actually born here. He lives near here in Wilmington, Delaware. And he has a lot of roots to this area. He has a lot of the white working class feel about him that is still resonating to a lot of people in the state of Pennsylvania. And he is up in the polls by triple what Hillary Clinton was up, and the polls were only about 2 points off. So it's really hard to say that Donald Trump would be able to overcome a deficit that big. And I think that at this point, Joe Biden maybe even would win by 2 to 3, maybe even more points in the state of Pennsylvania. And so that is all the lean margin states. We see Donald Trump is only at 204, and Joe Biden is at 268 electoral votes as of now. And then we'll be going through the rest of these states. All these districts and states are all tilt margins here. First, going to Nebraska's second district. I actually think Nebraska's second district, if the election were held today, would go to Joe Biden. It's a very suburban district that's been trending to the blue column for quite a while now. It actually trended in 2016 from 2012, ever since Obama won it back in 2008. And so I do think that Joe Biden would be able to win this district very narrowly, as it's very suburban, and suburbs, as you probably know, are trending towards the Democratic column. The next state is going to be the state of Wisconsin. Wisconsin, I do believe, would narrowly go to Joe Biden. Wisconsin is a state that's actually kind of trending in the opposite direction, at least in this election compared to Michigan and Pennsylvania. It's kind of trending towards the red column, at least before, when Donald Trump was ahead in the polls. Joe Biden is now pulled ahead in the polls. He's up by around 3 percentage points here. And while the Wisconsin polls were not very accurate here because the undecided voters broke so heavily to Donald Trump, I believe that this state, at least this time, would go to Joe Biden. From the state of Arizona, I believe that actually Joe Biden, you can see here, was at 279 before this. Wisconsin was the state that won it for him. Arizona, I believe, would go to Joe Biden as well by a tilt margin. You have Mark Kelly here, who's running way ahead of Martha McSally, around 9 points ahead in the polls. And this could help Joe Biden because Joe Biden's been up in the polls in Arizona. One poll had him up, the most recent poll had him up by 9 points. And while I don't think he's going to win by 9 percentage points, he will, in my opinion, still win the state of Arizona at this point, probably by around 1 to 2 percentage points. The trends are real in the state. The Maricopa County and pretty much everywhere in the state is trending toward the blue column. And so I do think that Joe Biden would be able to win this state. The next state is Florida. I actually believe Joe Biden would be able to flip the state of Florida if the election were held today. There's the whole thing about Florida going to incumbents, which really is not that big of a deal, to be honest, because only 2 presidents, Woodrow Wilson and Barack Obama, have won by less in their re-election campaigns. And sure, you can point to George H.W. Bush winning it in 92 and some other examples like that, but really I think it's more of just a coincidence rather than Florida really liking incumbents. And you can also point to the fact that they're immune to wave years, but again, this is one of the closest states year in and year out, and the polls only underestimated Trump by exactly 1 percentage point in the state of Florida in 2016. Joe Biden right now is ahead by 3 in the polls, and he's doing pretty well overall right now, so I do think that he would be able to win the state of Florida, pushing up to 319 electoral votes. But I do believe that Donald Trump will be able to narrowly carry the state of North Carolina. I don't believe that there are enough trends here yet. There might not be as high a black turnout if the election were held today. Obviously, this is not taking into account the coronavirus and all the stuff like that. But I do believe that the state would go barely into Donald Trump's column. The Charlotte suburbs, the Raleigh suburbs, the Winston-Salem suburbs are trending towards the blue column, which will make the state a lot closer. It actually went by the same margin that Arizona did, but it's not trending quite as fast. And so at this stage, I would believe that Donald Trump would barely win this by around, 0.2 percentage points, similar to how he won Michigan, because he's lost his hold on the suburbs along with many Republicans. And so this is the overall map. And obviously, before, again, you comment, you get mad, there are many ways, and this will probably happen, where Joe Biden does decline in the future. He's already started to decline with all the allegations and stuff. He declined a little bit. He's recovered a little bit since then. But yeah, he could easily decline. He most likely will decline. He could go up a bit more, then he could go down a lot, similar to how Hillary Clinton did. Things will change in the race, but as of right now, this is how I think the map would look. Joe Biden would get a sweeping victory, 319 to 219. So yeah, thank you all for watching this video. Please like and subscribe as always. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, and I will see you guys later.